Welcome to the podcast of Dhirasanta Dasa Goswami.
Busy making progress, or does forward look like backward?
The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. The Country Mouse watched sadly as his friend, the Town Mouse, packed his bags to leave. The Town Mouse had just spent a few unhappy days at the Country Mouse's home under a hedge in a field. "You poor thing," said the Town Mouse with pity in his voice. "You live so badly in the country, with only roots and corn to eat. Come back with me to the town, and I will show you what good living is like." The two tiny creatures made the long journey to the house where the Town Mouse lived in the great city. At first, the Country Mouse thought that life in the town was indeed wonderful. He had never seen such food as there was in the kitchen. They had just started to nibble some of the dates and figs stored there when the door suddenly opened. "Quick!" squealed the Town Mouse in a panic. "We must hide in my hole." In an instant, the Country Mouse found himself squashed against his friend in a small dark hole. It was hot and very crowded. After a long time, the Town Mouse said that it would be safe to leave the hole. The two animals came out into the kitchen, trying to stretch their cramped legs and shake the kinks from their tails. Still shaking with fright, the Country Mouse picked up a fig again. Before he could eat it, the door swung open again. "Quick, hide!" squealed the Town Mouse. Yet again, the Country Mouse found himself pressed against his friend in the tiny hole, with hardly room to twitch his whiskers and his heart beating wildly. "That's it," he told his friend firmly. "You may have good food here, but what's the point of having good food if I'm always too frightened to eat it? I'm going back home." So the Country Mouse packed his little bag and scurried back along the city streets until he reached his beloved fields again. He crept back into his little hole under the hedge with great contentment. "This is the place for me," he said to himself, looking round at everything he loved so much. "I like being able to twitch my whiskers and flick my tail whenever I want to. The Town Mouse can keep his old town."
On a morning walk, Srila Prabhupada pointed with his cane to a park for children with different animals, cars, houses, and trains. And he said, "Children's fantasy land." He then pointed with his cane in the distance to the city skyscrapers and said, "Adults' fantasy land." We desire to be creators like God, but all we do is take the elements, earth, water, fire, and air already provided. We create empires, build cities, and try to make faultless machines to live a more comfortable life. But our creations always have certain limitations and need continuous improvement. Rockets sent by us into outer space survive only for a short period. We create a better and better telescope, but how much can we see? Due to so-called economic development or political unrest, cities are bombed and empires come and go. So, are things better or worse? In time, things are not what they used to be. So the question can be asked, after all that has been said and done, are we making progress? Well, some will have us believe we have come a long way forward. But let's take a few examples and examine whether things have improved or not. Used to be you could trust your fellow man. Now I don't think anybody can. Used to be money made of gold. Now it's just some dirty paper you can fold. Used to be killing was a crime. Now they do it legally all the time. Used to be conceiving a child was the norm. Now they kill their children before they're born. Seems to be knowledge in the school, but it's the blind leading the blind as a rule. Here's a song written in 1979 by Mangalananda Das. Again, let's see if there has been any change from that time. The song is called Progress.
So busy making progress, we forget to wonder why. Life started in the first place, and why we are born and die.
Scholars seek solutions in the rubble of the past, poking ancient mummies to find out how they last. We're surrounded by the gadgets that we're told will save the day, but we still get old and perish. Why? We cannot say. Man can make inventions, but he can't invent the truth, and all his vain pretensions won't restore his youth.
Progress marches onward, but don't you think it's odd? How forward looks like backwards, and no one mention God. We're ruled by foolish leaders who play with us as stakes, while our world is being poisoned by mad scientists' mistakes. But man has made great progress, so they'd like us to believe. It's measured by the ugly mess our children will receive.
Quite often man tries to belittle God. The Titanic was created to prove that man can defy God. It was advertised as an unsinkable ship. The makers claimed even God cannot sink it. But their ego did not last, and the ship sank. Of course, God did not have to personally come to sink the ship. The material nature is sufficient to crush man's ego. Our attempt to compete with him is like children building sandcastles on the beach before the tide comes in and turns castles back to sand. However, the planets created at the time of creation are still smartly dancing along the designated trajectory, not losing a second of time or their pathway even by an inch. In the Bhagavad Purana it is stated that there are two classes of men in this world: the swan-like person and the crow-like person. The swan is clean, peaceful, and detached. The crow is the opposite and is described in the Bhagavad-gita as follows. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation and no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no other cause other than lust. Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Srila Prabhupada would say, democracy or demon crazy. He once saw a newspaper under a devotee's arm and asked, what are the rascals saying today? We can see the value of a newspaper because after it is read, it is thrown in the rubbish bin. We have another song by Mangalananda Das that describes the mentality of today's demoniac leaders. It is called Against the Universal Plan.
Right now, during the age of quarrel, Mother Earth is in distress. Burdened by the threatening wars of cheaters who are disguised in royal dress. Deluded by the lust for riches, the rulers turn from friends to foe. And holding high their lethal weapons, the good earth has no place to go.
Groups of faces filled with anger, both claim nature's wealth their right. Some say that it's theirs by labor, the others say that might is right. Day by day, the envy deepens as leaders scheme to build their might. Lord knows, if they don't come to reason, the force of time will cause a fight.
O thoughtful men, 'tis time for thinking. We see the days are getting late. Allow the love of God at last to flood the fires of lust and hate.
We have got to realize it all belongs to Him. The Lord, who gave us life, is everybody's friend. We have got to recognize His universal plan. And then we'll come to see the brotherhood of man.
Swanlike persons only take what they require. Mahatma Gandhi was asked, "What do you think about Western civilization?" His reply was, "That would be a good idea."
Ultimately, it is the poverty of the Atma that leads to world poverty. If we only knew that the soul or the self is self-satisfied. The Vedas say that God has provided us with everything, but we should take only what is required. If we take more, we become thieves because the world and its wealth belongs to Lord Krishna, not us. The motto of the Krishna movement is simple living, high thinking. The idea is that human life has a higher purpose. Minimizing our material needs simplifies life and free time for spiritual practice. By such practices, we reduce our desires and become peaceful. Srila Prabhupada said that whatever God has created has some use. One must simply know how to utilize everything properly. In our preaching work, we deal with so much property and money. But because these dealings all pertain to pleasing Krishna, they should never be considered material. If one is absorbed in the daily chanting of the holy names, his dealings with the material world are not different from the spiritual cultivation of Krishna consciousness.
When reporters inquired from Srila Prabhupada on arriving at one airport, "Why are you traveling to your temple in such a luxurious car?" Prabhupada replied, "Actually, Krishna deserves a lot more opulence, but this is the best you have here, and therefore I am using it in Krishna's service."
In the Bhagavad-gita 3:9, it is said, "Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this world. Therefore, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage." Also in the Bhagavad-gita 5:29, Krishna explains, Bhuktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam yatvamam shantam richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. In his last song, Mangalananda offers Lord Krishna's peace formula. It is called Simple Living.
The morning sun was rising in the open country sky. The village started singing, and my thoughts were getting high. The grace of God was blooming in the orchard and the meadow. It was on that blessed morning, and I thanked him then and there, remembering the ghetto.
Simple living, peace of mind, high thinking, let your spirit climb. O Lord, thank you for this life. Now help me live it right, as you please.
The gentle cows were grazing, the ox were hauling wood. Seeing them protected, my heart was feeling good. At home, my wife was holding high our daily bread to God. He's made this life so simple. Why has man made life so hard?
Oh, my mind's been getting clear, like a crystal mountain stream, and I know within myself God's word is not a dream. The message has been given, divine love is the goal. Just simplify your living, purify your soul.
I dreamt I had an interview with God. So you would like to interview me, God asked. If you have the time, I said. God smiled. My time is eternity. What questions do you have in mind for me? Well, what surprises you most about mankind? God answered that they get bored with childhood, rush to grow up, and then long to be children again. That they lose their health to make money, and then lose their money to restore their health. That by thinking anxiously about the future, they forget the present and live neither in the present nor the future. That they have abandoned their commitments to raising children and exchanged it for walking and talking to their cats and dogs. That they live as if they will never die and die as though they had never lived. Then I asked, as a parent, what are some of life's lessons you want your children to learn? Do not expect respect, but give respect to others. Seek not to be understood, but seek to understand. Do not demand to be loved, but aspire to extend your love to others. To lose money, prestige, health, or even life itself is not such a loss. To lose faith is the greatest loss. Is there anything else you would like your children to know? Yes, for my devotee, death is not the end, but just the beginning of entrance into the realm of eternity. But for the atheist and the materialist, death is simply an end of everything they identify with, thinking it is everlasting. So two things are essential: a very mature and honest understanding of the dangers and sufferings of material existence, and faith that my holy names have descended to give the eternal soul supreme shelter. Oh, thank you for your time, I said humbly. God smiled and said, just reassure your listeners that I am always available if they want me. However, I will never interfere with the independence I have given them. I am waiting anxiously for them to return back home whenever they choose to do so. From what I see, nothing has changed except that we have become more sophisticated in going against the universal plan. The proof can be seen in global statistics, which I can only term as killing societies, killing each other, killing unborn children, killing the animals, killing the forests, and contaminating all that was pure. This is all in the name of I do what I want, when I want, and where I like for my pleasure. Finally, let's give the last word to the children. Let's see what they say about this.
I wish there would be no more hunger in the world. I wish everyone could live together in peace. I wish there would be no more no more misery.